Hello, my name is Jason Kennedy and I'm with the ear. Today I'd like to tell you about the Rega Naia, the new Naion £10,000 turntable from Rega. The Naia is a synthesis of the Naiad, which was a concept turntable originally developed 10 years ago, and the current planar 10. It's the same shape as and looks very similar to a planar 10, but a lot of the crucial details are different. For instance, it has a carbon fibre skin over the foam core of the plinth, and the bearing is not brass and steel as is the case with a planar 10, but made of alumina ceramic. So A, it's white, and B, it's much higher tolerance and much stiffer, harder. It's a harder material there. As you can see, it's got very lightweight cut out feet. The platter, while it looks similar, is not the same as a planar 10. It's more sophisticated, especially when you flip it over and look at the underside. The platter has peripheral weighting, i.e. most of the mass is on the edge of the platter, but the way that the shape on the underside is machined is totally smooth. The transition between the sort of thin material in the middle to the thicker material on the outside is totally smooth. You don't see any sharp edges or any sort of corners, which means that its resonant character, the resonant character of the platter, is even, i.e. it doesn't have any resonant peaks. It doesn't vibrate at any given frequency more than others, which when you're trying to measure the tiny modulations in a vinyl groove is pretty critical. Rega's whole ethos when it comes to turntable design is to make sure that nothing else moves apart from the stylus in the groove, which is an extremely difficult thing to do, because bearings themselves are intrinsically, they have to move in one direction only, preferably, and turntables are prone to vibration from other sources, of course, from motors within them and from loudspeakers on the floor next to them. The Subplatter is larger than you'll find on other Rega turntables and supports the platter at 6 points. It's driven by a 3 belts, which is one more than you'll find on a planar 10, and this is to give it a sort of the sort of strength or power or connection that you get on a direct drive without the drawback of having a motor connected directly to the platter and the inevitable vibration that can get into the platter as a result. The motor on Naia is a 24 volt AC motor, much like all other Rega turntables, but it's a highly selected example. It's the best of the thousands that Rega uses across its range, and once it's been sort of selected, it is tuned with the power supply. The bearing underneath the platter is zirconium toughened alumina, which is the hardest material that Rega could find to make it out of. Zirconium toughened aluminium is a bit like industrial diamond. It's extremely hard and therefore very difficult to machine and produce a bearing in. The bearing and spindle are made as a pair, as a matched pair, and lubricated very finely with synthetic oil. The plinth has carbon fibre skins either side of the foam core, and the carbon fibre itself is impregnated with graphene for extra stiffness. This contributes to its low weight and huge rigidity. The braces between the platter and the base of the Tonearm, top and bottom, are also ceramic. On a planar 10 you get a ceramic brace on the top, but not on the bottom. This is because the connection here needs to be as stiff as absolutely possible. Any movement that sort of gets into the system between the bearing and the arm will be added to the signal picked up by the stylus. The 24-volt motor is bonded into an oval aluminium case which is fixed rigidly to the plinth. This is something you won't find on any other Rega turntables, which usually have some degree of isolation between motor and turntable so that there's no transmission of vibration between the two. But for Naia, Rega have chosen the very best motors they get and tuned them. The RB titanium arm is similar in appearance to the RB3000 you get in a planar 10, but has a titanium bearing. The titanium bearing has much lower friction than the standard bearing. The Naia is sold either without a cartridge or with the Aphelion 2, which is Rega's best moving coil cartridge. As with previous Rega tone arms, there is no option to adjust VTA, which some people find a bit of an issue. But Rega's view is that VTA adjustment introduces the potential for movement in the tone arm. By fixing the tone arm rigidly to the plinth, you're reducing the potential for movement there to the bare minimum, whereas nearly all systems that allow the tone arm to move up and down are compromised in the rigidity stakes. The Naia sounds very much like a planar 10. It has exactly the same very neutral, transparent character, which means it sounds less like most turntables than average. Most turntables sound thick and slow compared to both a planar 10 and a Naia. The difference between the two is that the Naia retrieves or resolves significantly more information, more musical detail comes off of every piece of vinyl you play. This is partly because the noise floor is extremely low. By eliminating so much vibration, so much movement in the turntable itself, the cartridge is able to track the groove more accurately and picks up less extraneous energy. There's less vibration coming into the platter, so it doesn't get into the stylus and doesn't blur the signal that's coming through. And they've designed it such that the fine line stylus sticks to the groove more effectively than any other turntable that they've made, and quite possibly anyone else for that matter. In practice, this means you hear so much more from every record, it's just uncanny, both in terms of fine details resolving themselves into musical notes, making it easier to hear what people are playing and the way they're playing it, making it easier to hear the expression in a singer's voice or the way that an instrument is played. Basically, it makes most record players that I've heard sound slow and opaque, which is a bit harsh, you might feel, but very few manufacturers go to the lengths that Rega have gone to make a turntable that is both incredibly stiff, incredibly light, and has the absolute bare minimum of potential for movement within its construction. The bearing, for instance, is more extreme than you'll find almost anywhere. I've never seen an alumina bearing, basically ceramic bearing, and this is a zirconium toughness bearing, so it's not just ceramic itself. And I've never seen a plinth or a turntable that is overall this lightweight. The platter itself is quite heavy, but not particularly. Essentially, it is phenomenally revealing and transparent to detail and transparent to the music on the record. And it's amazing how much there is in the groove on a well-made record, or even a badly made, I mean, well recorded perhaps is the word. A well recorded album has a phenomenal amount of detail in it, and even a commercial modern pop record can sound amazingly good when it's reproduced this well. There's plenty of power, phenomenally deep and controlled bass. The bass is something else. I really enjoyed some dub on this and will continue to do so given half a chance. But I also played a huge variety of records. I mean, it's all as many records as I possibly could in the time I've had it, which is only 2 weeks. Every occasion you hear more of what's in the recording, and the way that bands play together seems to be more coherent and make more sense. So the Naia has the sort of evenness, the neutrality, or the flat response of digital, but it has the timing, the coherence that you only seem to get with analog sources, and which turntables are the best. The timing on this thing is fantastic. It really, I mean, Rega are always good at making turntables that have fantastic timing, so their very best is inevitably probably the best turntable in the world when it comes to timing. But I'd argue it's amongst the very best in all respects, because it gets so much off the record, and that music is not blurred, distorted, coloured by vibrations coming out of the turntable itself. The only way to sum it up really is that it's extraordinary. The Rega Naia is extraordinary. There may not be any other turntables of this calibre out there. There are other fine turntables, of course, and I'd be intrigued to hear them compared with this. But up until now, it's the best turntable I've heard. If you'd like to find out more about our review of the Naia, have a look at the link below. Thanks a lot.